You know, we usually operate under this deeply ingrained assumption that price competition is, well, always a good thing for you, the consumer.
Right, yeah.
Like if two coffee shops are across the street from each other, they fight for your business by lowering their prices, and ultimately you win.
I mean, that's the basic bedrock of free market economics, right?
Exactly. But what if that assumption is just fundamentally flawed? What if driving prices down to the absolute bottom actually destroys the very thing you're trying to buy?
Yeah, that's the wild part.
So welcome to the deep dive. Today our mission is to explore this invisible architecture of trust in our economy.
It's a huge topic.
It really is. We're looking at a problem you deal with every single day, which is how do we guarantee quality when we transact with total strangers?
And, constructing that certainty it's perhaps the most difficult engineering problem in human history.
Yeah.
We just take it completely for granted that when we buy something, it'll actually be what the seller claims it is.
Totally. And to figure out how we do that, we're pulling from this incredible stack of sources today. We've got a 2003 Economica paper, a Purdue University survey from 2007, a deep dive from Supra, and some reviews of the book, Understanding the Blockchain Economy.
It's a really fascinating mix.
So by the end of this deep dive, you are going to understand the hidden link between medieval German butchers, those 5-star eBay reviews you rely on, and modern $100 million blockchain hacks.
Yeah, we're really getting into why industrializing trust is arguably the biggest economic puzzle of our time.
So let's just dive right in, starting with the fundamental problem of unobservable quality. That Economica paper really turns the idea of competition on its head.
It really does. I mean, to understand why, you have to look at this concept they outline called the quality assuring price.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure. So imagine you're buying a product where you can't possibly know the true quality of the item until, long after you've bought it.
Like what?
Say, an expensive winter coat. You don't know if the stitching will hold up or if the insulation is actually warm until you're already outside in a blizzard. Right.
Right. At the point of sale, I'm just kind of taking their word for it.
Exactly. So the paper points out that if a firm is going to produce a genuinely high-quality coat, which obviously costs them more in materials and skilled labor, they need an ironclad incentive not to just substitute it with a cheap fake.
Because they could easily just use cheap thread, charge you the premium price, and pocket the difference.
Spot on. And the mechanism that keeps them honest is this quality assuring price. It's a deliberate mathematical premium they charge above their actual production costs.
Wait, so the manufacturer is essentially charging you extra just to keep themselves honest, like a hostage fee?
That is a brilliant way to put it, actually. Yeah, that premium generates a reliable stream of future profits.
Okay.
The firm looks at the math and says, well, if we cheat the customer today to make a quick buck, we permanently lose their future business, and we lose that ongoing premium.
Ah, I see. So the economics only work if the future profits from that premium outweigh the one-time gain of cheating you today.
Right. But, and here's the kicker, if firms aggressively compete on price to win your business, that profit margin shrinks.
Oh, wow. And that's the danger of pure price competition.
Exactly. If the price drops down to the bare cost of production, the premium just disappears entirely.
And without the premium, the incentive, to be honest, just vanishes.
Oof, gone.
I mean, I'm imagining buying a cheap gadget online.
Mm-hmm.
If the seller is making zero margin because they undercut everyone, it becomes completely rational for them to just use cheap materials and sell me garbage.
Because they aren't losing any valuable future profits if you get mad and never come back. They weren't making a profit on you anyway.
Right. So how did historical economies actually solve this before, the internet?
Historically, the solution was the guild, or the professional association. What the Economica paper shows is that guilds didn't just exist as, social clubs. They existed largely to stop price competition and protect those profit premiums, which, in turn, protected quality. They restricted who could enter the market and outright banned competitive bidding.
The sources give some wild examples of this. Like, in medieval Germany, butcher guilds literally had strict rules banning members from pumping water into the lungs and bellies of animals to artificially increase their weight.
Oh, yeah. It's a perfect example of opportunistic cheating.
And if you got caught watering down the meat, you were expelled from the guild, which meant you could no longer practice your trade in that town at all.
Exactly. And we see the exact same economic mechanism in modern professional associations, too.
Like what?
Take the American Medical Association. In the mid-19th century, the AMA consolidated power specifically to restrict the supply of physicians.
Interesting.
By making it much harder and more expensive to become a licensed doctor, they essentially eliminated the quacks who were offering cheap, dangerous treatments in town squares.
But did that raise the cost of medical care?
Yes, significantly. But it also vastly improved the quality and safety of that care.
Wow.
The paper also highlights the U.S. Hotel Employees and Restaurant Employees Union in the 20th century. They operated closed shops where employers were legally bound to hire union members.
Okay, so they control the labor.
Right. The union guaranteed a competent, trained workforce, and in exchange, they protected their members from a race to the bottom in wages.
I have to push back here, though, on behalf of the listener. Because we're usually taught that monopolies and cartels are the ultimate economic villains, right? They stifle innovation, they gouge consumers. Are sources actually suggesting that cartels were good for the consumer?
Well, not inherently good in all cases, but they were necessary to solve a specific problem.
It makes me think of a bouncer at an exclusive club.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, like we absolutely hate the line outside and we hate the strict entry rules, but those rules are the only reason the party inside doesn't devolve into a chaotic mess.
That is a phenomenal analogy. The bouncer creates artificial scarcity. The Economica paper is essentially arguing that if you force the club to fire the bouncer, let everyone in, and drop the cover charge to zero, the party gets ruined.
Right, because a consumer-enforced mechanism like you just refusing to buy from a bad seller isn't enough on its own if the prices have already been driven too low.
Exactly. You need an institutional structure to protect the premium.
But the problem with the bouncer is that we can't rely on local guilds and town square pillories on the global internet.
No, definitely not.
When commerce moved online, we lost the local bouncer entirely. So we replaced the guild with crowdsourced reputation systems. eBay seller ratings, peer-to-peer network scores, Uber driver stars.
Right, the digital equivalent.
But as that 2007 Purdue University survey reveals, these digital systems quickly became a massive playground for malicious actors.
Oh, absolutely. What the Purdue researchers identified is that any reputation system, no matter what website it's on, operates across three core dimensions.
Okay, lay those out for us.
First, there's the formulation. This is the underlying math. Like, what counts as a good or bad interaction, and how much weight does a single review carry?
Right.
Second is the calculation. Is this math being done by one central server, like Amazon's headquarters, or is it distributed across thousands of peer-to-peer nodes?
Okay.
And third is dissemination. How are these final trust scores actually shared with the people who need them to make a purchasing decision?
But the thing is, once you break trust down into those three mathematical dimensions, human beings immediately figure out how to game the math.
Without fail.
The survey details some truly fascinating attacks. I found the self-serving or whitewashing attack to be incredibly common once you recognize it.
Yeah, the whitewashing attack is elegant in its simplicity. It just exploits the fact that digital identities are basically free.
Right.
If an attacker acts maliciously, say they set up a fake storefront, scam a bunch of people, and completely ruin their digital reputation, they don't spend years trying to earn back the community's trust.
They just delete the account.
Exactly. They abandon that digital identity, create a brand new one, and re-enter the system with a clean slate.
You're crazy.
This is also known as a Sybil attack, where one person generates countless fake identities to overwhelm the network. If a reputation system treats a brand new user exactly the same as a veteran user who has always behaved well, the system is fundamentally vulnerable to whitewashing.
It's exactly like a terrible restaurant that keeps failing its health inspections, so the owner just keeps changing the name on the awning to erase the bad history. New name, same bad food.
That's exactly it.
But then the survey goes into orchestrated oscillation attacks, which are so much more devious. Walk me through how those actually work in practice.
Okay, this is where we see coordinated behavior, and it takes some planning. In an oscillation attack, colluding attackers divide themselves into teams.
Wait, so Team A and Team B?
Yeah, exactly. Team A will act perfectly. They process transactions honestly, they build up stellar reputation scores over weeks or months, and they earn the broader community's trust.
And what's Team B doing?
Meanwhile, Team B acts maliciously. They scam people and extract maximum profit until their reputation is completely destroyed and no one will interact with them.
Then what? They just close up shop?
No, they swap roles.
Oh, wow.
Team A, with its perfect 5-star reputation, suddenly turns malicious and starts cashing in on all that accumulated trust by scamming people for high-value items.
Wow.
And Team B, whose reputation is currently ruined, suddenly starts acting perfectly honest on small, low-value transactions, quietly rebuilding their trust scores over time.
It is brilliant and terrifying.
It really is. By coordinating these oscillations back and forth, the group continuously extracts illicit value from the network while always having a fresh set of trusted identities ready to go.
If you think about hiring a contractor on a gig app, you might be hiring Team A right on the day they decide to cash in their 5-star rating.
Exactly. You never really know.
So if human nature guarantees we'll always try to game the math to our advantage, how do we remove humans from the math entirely?
Well, that brings us to our next set of sources, particularly the research on institutional cryptoeconomics. And the answer is blockchain.
Okay.
But it is crucial that we don't look at blockchain merely as a financial tool for cryptocurrency or, trading digital pictures. We have to look at it as an institutional technology.
Right.
We're witnessing a massive transition from trusting a human manager or a centralized server to trusting cryptography and mathematics.
I'm really glad you brought up institutional cryptoeconomics. The book review we have mentions the economists Oliver Williamson and Ronald Coase. I know Coase won a Nobel Prize,
Yeah.
but what exactly did he figure out that relates to blockchain?
So Coase formulated the theory of the firm, which answers a very basic question. Why do companies even exist?
Right.
If free markets are so efficient, why doesn't everyone just act as an independent contractor?
Good question.
Coase realized that traditional companies only exist because something called transaction costs are too high in the open market.
Transaction costs being like the literal cost of trusting someone to do what they say they will.
Exactly. Think about the sheer logistical cost of trusting people. If you want to build a car from scratch in a pure free market, you'd wake up every morning and negotiate individual daily contracts with a tire guy, an engine guy, a steering wheel guy.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. The cost of finding those people, negotiating the deals, writing the legal contracts, and enforcing them if someone cheats you, those transaction costs are staggeringly high.
So instead, we invented the firm.
Exactly. We hire all of those people as full-time employees under one roof with a manager to oversee them. The firm and the manager exist purely to reduce the transaction costs of trust.
And the REPEC source and the book review point out that blockchain is a technology that drastically lowers that exact transaction cost.
Yeah.
It effectively industrializes trust.
Yeah. To put it in historical context, the authors use the work of business historian Alfred Chandler.
Okay, what did he do?
Chandler analyzed how the creation of the railroads in the 19th century created this unprecedented economic problem. Railroads required massive amounts of capital. They spanned thousands of miles, and they required split-second scheduling so trains didn't crash into each other.
Right, you can't run that like a local mom and pop shop.
Exactly. The traditional owner-operator business model, like a local blacksmith or a guild, just couldn't handle it. The optimizing institutional response to the railroad was the invention of the multi-divisional corporation, a totally new way of organizing human effort with specialized middle managers. The authors argue that blockchain is the optimizing institutional response to the modern problem of trust on a global scale.
And the tool that makes this possible is the smart contract.
Yes. A smart contract is basically just self-executing code living on the blockchain.
Yeah.
It says, if event X happens, then automatically execute action Y.
Right.
There's no human manager needed to verify it, no bank needed to process it, and no court needed to enforce it. The cryptographic consensus of the network guarantees the execution.
A great way to think about a smart contract is a common vending machine.
Oh, that's a classic analogy.
Yeah. When you walk up to a vending machine, there is no cashier deciding whether or not to give you a soda. The machine runs on a physical smart contract. If you insert $2 and press button A4, the machine will dispense the soda.
Right.
The execution is completely separated from human oversight. It commodifies the execution itself. The blockchain just does this digitally for everything.
It is a profound shift in how we organize society. If the code is visible, verifiable, and immutable, the transaction cost of trust plummets to near zero.
Wow.
You don't need to know the person on the other side of the screen, you don't need a middle manager, and you don't need a guild bouncer to keep them honest. The cryptographic protocol forces honesty.
Which sounds amazing. I mean, it sounds like a perfect frictionless utopia of trust. But here is where we hit the wall and where our source from Super comes in. Blockchains are closed systems.
Right.
So what happens when this perfectly secure, isolated blockchain needs to know something from the real world? Like, if we have a smart contract for crop insurance that pays a farmer if it doesn't rain for 30 days, how does the blockchain actually know if it rained?
And that right there is the Achilles heel of the entire system. It's known as the Oracle dilemma.
Okay.
You see, blockchains are inherently blind and deaf to the outside world. By design, a blockchain only knows about the digital transactions happening on its own internal ledger.
Right, it lives in a bubble.
Exactly.
Oh.
It has no idea what the weather is in London, it doesn't know who won the Super Bowl, and it doesn't know the current exchange rate of the US dollar.
But those smart contracts absolutely need that data to be useful in the real world.
They do. So to execute agreements based on real-world events, blockchains rely on external entities called oracles to fetch off-chain data and push it onto the blockchain. But the Oracle dilemma is an extension of established computer science limitations, like the CIP theorem. The CIP theorem states that a distributed data system can only guarantee two of three things at the same time: consistency, availability, and partition tolerance.
I'm going to stop you right there because that sounds like a textbook. Break that down for me. Why can't we have all three?
Yeah, fair enough. Think of it like trying to coordinate a group project with people in 3 different time zones.
Okay.
Consistency means everyone has the exact same information at the exact same time. Availability means anyone can access the system and get a response whenever they want.
Got it.
Partition tolerance means the system keeps working, even if the communication lines between the group members break down.
Right.
If the lines break down, that's partition tolerance, you have to make a choice. Do you let people keep working independently, which means they might have different versions of the project, sacrificing consistency, or do you lock the document until communication is restored, sacrificing availability?
Oh, I see. You mathematically cannot guarantee all three at once when dealing with decentralized networks.
Exactly. And this feeds into the blockchain trilemma, which dictates you have to balance decentralization, security, and scalability.
So the core of the dilemma is that if an oracle is centralized, if it's just one company's weather server feeding the rain data to the blockchain, you've just introduced a massive single point of failure into your supposedly decentralized, trustless system.
Yep.
A chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
And when that weak link is exploited, the results are catastrophic. The supersource details some highly sophisticated exploits that happened exactly because of this vulnerability.
Like what?
For instance, in 2019, there was a major exploit involving Chainlink oracles. Attackers essentially spammed the oracle nodes with dummy requests, artificially congesting the network.
Okay.
This caused the transaction fees to process data to skyrocket. The attackers then capitalized on this artificial congestion by selling off CHI gas tokens.
Wait, what are CHI gas tokens?
They're tokens specifically designed to increase in value when network fees are high. So they didn't even break the blockchain. They manipulated the oracle's operational capacity to engineer a profitable market condition.
That's wild. And the Mango Markets hack mentioned in the sources is even scarier because of the sheer amount of money involved, over $100 million. How did they pull that off without hacking the actual blockchain code?
In the Mango Markets exploit, they basically used brute financial force to manipulate reality.
Wow, okay, how?
Well, they found this obscure, low-liquidity asset called the MNGO token. And because hardly anyone was trading it, they didn't need that much money to manipulate its price on a few specific exchanges.
Oh, right, so they just buy a bunch and pump the price sky high.
Exactly. And the oracle couldn't tell the difference between a natural price increase and market manipulation.
Of course not. It's just a program reading a number.
Right. The oracle, doing exactly what it was programmed to do, fetched those newly inflated prices from the exchange and reported them to the Mango Market's smart contracts on the blockchain.
And the smart contract just blindly trusts the oracle.
Yes. The smart contract read the data, believed the attacker suddenly had massive amounts of highly valuable MNGO collateral, and automatically allowed them to take out over $100 million in loans across various other, much more stable assets.
Wow.
The blockchain executed the code perfectly, but the data it relied on was poisoned at the oracle level.
So this raises a massive red flag for me. If the whole point of blockchain is to eliminate the middleman and achieve true decentralization, doesn't relying on a third-party oracle completely defeat the purpose?
Which is a huge issue, yeah.
Are we just reinventing the medieval guild but calling it an oracle? We're back to trusting a small group of verified actors to not pump water into the lungs of our data.
You are hitting on the exact frontier of Web3 development right now. It is a completely valid critique, and it's why the status quo of relying on a few trusted node operators is fundamentally insufficient. The industry realizes that if oracles remain centralized, The entire blockchain ecosystem is basically a towering skyscraper built on a foundation of sand. The solution to the oracle dilemma requires engineering distributed, trust-minimized oracles.
And how do you do that?
It involves injecting cryptographic entropy, which is true, verifiable randomness into the selection of which nodes validate the data.
Okay, cryptographic entropy is another heavy term. Are we basically talking about a massive, decentralized lottery system?
That is a brilliant way to think about it. Imagine a massive lottery where no one knows who is going to be called upon to verify the price of oil or the weather data until the exact millisecond it happens.
Right.
Because it is truly random and unpredictable, attackers can't predict who to bribe, and the nodes can't collude with each other in advance to manipulate the data.
Makes sense.
It requires multi-layered consensus mechanisms that match the ironclad security guarantees of the underlying blockchain itself.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Let's just take a step back and look at the incredible journey we've just taken through our sources today.
It's been quite a ride.
As a society, we are constantly engaged in this arms race against opportunism and cheating. We started by relying on the strict rules of local guilds to protect a quality-assuring price premium. We had the bouncer at the door.
Great.
When commerce scaled to the internet, we fired the bouncer and tried digital star ratings, but found they were incredibly vulnerable to whitewashing and orchestrated oscillation attacks.
Too easy to game.
Exactly. To fix human manipulation, we moved to cryptoeconomic blockchains to completely industrialize trust and replace human managers with code. The digital vending machine. And now we're wrestling with oracles, trying to securely pipe reality itself into those blockchains without relying on a central authority. The core takeaway here is that every single economic system you interact with, whether you're swiping a credit card, checking an Amazon review, or investing in crypto, is ultimately just a creative, evolving attempt to solve the messy human problem of trust.
And, if we connect this history to the future, it leaves us with a truly provocative thought to consider.
Okay, let's hear it.
We are currently pouring billions of dollars and immense intellectual capital into decentralizing oracles, all to ensure we can feed perfect, untampered data into these autonomous smart contracts. But what happens when artificial intelligence fully enters the chat?
Oh, man.
Think about it. If AI agents start autonomously analyzing Oracle data and then independently writing, negotiating, and executing their own smart contracts at lightning speed without any human oversight, who do we audit for trust then? If an AI finds a purely logical loophole in an Oracle's data feed and legally drains a protocol of millions of dollars, was it a malicious attack or just highly efficient code operating exactly as written?
Wow. Do we eventually need to invent an entirely new institutional technology just to manage the trust between the machines themselves?
It's a real possibility.
It really makes you look at the hidden systems around you differently. Next time you see a price drop on a website, or look at a 5-star review, or think about a digital contract, remember the invisible architecture of trust holding it all together, and remember how easily that X-ray machine can break. Keep questioning those invisible systems. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.